Hi guys, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how I did the scallops on my Circus Ciel costume. I went through a lot of different ways that I tried, and this just turned out working the best for me. So here we go. The supplies you're going to need are a piece of cardstock, your fabric, a circle template, ruler, pencil, scissors, a soldering iron, and then just a piece of scrap something or other that'll protect your surface, because the soldering iron will melt through pretty much anything. So the fabric I'm using is taffeta. This technique won't work on cotton, just on synthetic fibers. So it's going to melt the edges so that everything will be nice and finished, but you won't have to sandwich anything or sew anything to the edges to protect them, and it leaves it nice and finished looking. And you're also able to put little holes in there and all kinds of fun stuff. I even put rhinestones on mine just for an added sparkle. Now the way that I did mine is I did mine on 2 circles and then sewed the 2 circles together, so there's a bunch of circle skirts essentially for my ruffles. It can work any way that you want to do it. I just found the circles gave me more of the body that I wanted. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your cardstock and your circle template and decide which size circle you want your scallops to be. How I did that is I measured from one end to the other of my ruffled piece and then divided it and figured out what circle was appropriate. So for this tutorial, we're going to use the biggest one because that's what I used on my own costume. So just draw a circle in there. Then take your ruler and go right up against the side of your circle there and just draw a straight line up, and do that on the other side too. Then take your circle template again and mark where the halfway point is up your circle and draw a line there. If you want your scallops to be more dramatic or less dramatic, then make your line somewhere else. Then what I did is took that circle template again and marked halfway in the center so that I would know where my smaller scallops were going to need to be, and drew that line. Then you take your circle template one more time, find that center point, and draw your circles. And just keep going all the way around. And then now that you've got all your little scallops drawn there, if you do want to have any holes or anything like I did, just pick the spots you want them and draw a few fun little holes. You might want to actually measure this when you're doing it. I did when I made my costume, but because this is just a demonstration, I'm just going to throw a few holes in there for fun. So there's where my holes are going to be. Okay, so there's your drawing of what your scallops are going to look like, or just one scallop. Then you're going to take your scissors and cut this out. This is going to be your stencil. Okay, once you've got all your scallops cut out, then you can take your scissors and just kind of poke a little hole in there. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle because your soldering iron will do that for you. This is just so you can mark your fabric. Or if you have a hole punch, that makes things a lot easier. So this is your stencil for what your scallops will look like. Next, take your fabric. I'm using taffeta once again. Take it down to the one layer that it's going to be. Find the edge that you're going to start on. And remember to leave a little bit of extra off to the side, because you're going to want to fold that under just so you do have a finished edge on one side and on your other side. I think that looks better, but you do have the option to just take your soldering iron and melt all the way up the side if you want to. That is completely up to you. Then take your pencil. I found a pencil worked better than a pen just because it actually shows up a little lighter on the fabric. So I drew up my line there and then traced. Okay, so if you were going to be doing this for Ciel or any kind of skirt or anything, you're going to want to cut your pattern pieces out first and then scallop this on. Otherwise, your pieces might not fit in where your pattern goes or anything like that. So just make sure that you know that this is exactly what you're going to be using. That way you don't wind up with half a scallop or a third or whatever. So your next step is to turn on your soldering iron. The soldering iron I bought is from JoAnns. It has a nice nifty little dial, so you can make it hotter or cooler depending on what you're going to be doing. It also came with a bunch of different tips, which was pretty cool for doing things like craft foam. You can melt leather and things like that, so it was pretty neat. The tip I'm using is the soldering tip, so it's just a point. You don't actually want to use the X-Acto knife tip because it cuts the fabric before it's able to melt and won't do you any good. So once your soldering iron is all heated up, you can kind of feel around it, and if it's hot enough. Make sure you keep it on the little stand that comes with it. One thing I've found works best is if you have the nice portion of your fabric away from you and the edge that you're going to be cutting off towards you. That way if you accidentally drag anything over that, you're not going to be ruining your project. And you just very carefully draw over your pencil lines. So if you want your holes to be really big, all you need to do, obviously, is draw a bigger hole. You can do shapes. You can do little hearts. I don't know when that would be useful, but I'm sure there's something I'm not aware of. So you can have a little heart in there. I mean, anything you want.